Hey Jason, thank you so much for being here on the showcase. So tell us a little bit about ENDEX's mission.
So our mission, and first and foremost, thanks for having me here. This is a great opportunity for me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
But our mission is to provide archery mentorship, training, and equipment for people suffering from post-traumatic stress. And that could be veterans, law enforcement, first responders, or even children in the community, people in the community who have experienced traumatic events. You know, here in Central Virginia, they work directly with me. If not, if they're somewhere else in the country, then they work through either bow shops that we've vetted or our network of ambassadors that we're building across the country.
So, you know, say someone's watching this video and they're like, yeah, but what could that do for me? Explain, like, what does the shoot do for them?
What I love about it is there's a lot of different facets to archery that help people who are dealing with post-traumatic stress. I'll say first and foremost, the art of shooting a bow itself is very meditative at its nature. And when people experience trauma, a lot of times it's that trauma that lives in the forefront of their mind constantly. It's hard to think of anything else. Well, you add a bow into the mix, and in order to shoot a bow properly, it's hard to think of anything else, right? So if you think of your brain working through trauma like it's a physical exercise, like lifting weights, you can only bench press for so long before your muscles give out and you become fatigued. But you know, you set the weights down and you give yourself a minute, 3 minutes, whatever, you're able to lift that weight again. So with archery, if you're in your backyard shooting, and whether that's for 20 minutes or 2 hours, it's giving your brain a break. It's giving your subconscious a chance to take that trauma and process that a little bit. And that's really what's happening with trauma, is an inability to process those thoughts, memories, whatever. And before the trauma, you may walk around with a safety bubble that's pretty large. Could be, you know, the size of your hometown, the size of the state, or the size of the whole country. Maybe it's the world. But when you experience trauma, that bubble tends to shrink, and for some people, it becomes like a wetsuit. The archery community is very supportive. And I think that the personalities that are attracted to the archery community are very similar to those of people in public service, the military. So getting someone into the sport of archery also allows them a chance to re-socialize, because maybe you're not very trusting of people, but slowly and surely you start meeting all of these great people that are out there, and you learn to trust again.
It sounds like you're really invested in this. Like, it's more than just someone that had a good idea. It sounds like you experienced a need and you decided to fill the hole, fill the void. So what led you up to starting ENDEX?
That's right. So I consider myself patient zero for what we're trying to do here. And that goes back to an experience in 2015. I was deployed to Bagram, Afghanistan. And on December 21st, 2015, 6 of my team members were killed in an IED. I kind of went through the rest of that deployment, going through the motions, did our job. But when I came home, it's when I was really affected by, that event and what I experienced there. And I found myself, going down that path of depression. Didn't really have any interest in doing any of the things that had interested me before. And just recognized in myself that, something wasn't right. And it was one day at the range, I went out and shot my bow and didn't really want to. And that first arrow that I shot was a terrible shot because, like I said, I wasn't focused on the archery, I was focused on the trauma. But that one arrow kind of snapped me out of it, and I recognized it was a bad shot, and spent the next 2 hours really dialed in shooting my bow. And it was at that point I realized, hey, that was those 2 hours were the first time in probably 8 months that I didn't think about December 21st. So I recognized, hey, there's something to this. This gave my brain a break, and I needed it. And it also helped me kind of internalize and self-reflect and say, hey, I need to take more steps to deal with my own trauma. So I credit archery with that. From there, archery's always been a place, whether it was my continued career in the military or after the military. If I'm having a rough day at work, if I see some things on the job that I'm just not really prepared to come home and be dad or be a husband or whatever. I can get home, I can shoot my bow for 10 minutes and kind of give myself that reset. And then I'm ready to tackle the rest of the day, and I feel really good about it.
So on that note, like what would you say your guys' motto is?
Acta non verba is Latin for deeds, not words. And it was the motto of the last active duty military unit that I was in, and so it's important for that reason. But the message itself is of the utmost importance. When I started ENDEX, or when the idea finally came to fruition, I was in the middle of one of those 22 a day push-up challenges. You post yourself on Facebook doing 22 push-ups to raise awareness for veteran suicide. So, it was a call to action for me, and that's what I tell people. There's a lot of lip service when it comes to, the veteran community, first responder community, law enforcement community. There's a lot of people who will sit back and say they support, but they're not actually doing anything to help. So, deeds, not words, is really at the core of what we're trying to do here.
There's a lot of accountability behind that phrase. I mean, that's not just like a happy smile, pat in the back kind of phrase. That carries some weight with it.
Yeah, and I very much intended to be a challenge. Things have to change because obviously, what's been going on isn't working.
So what would be like, okay, say you got a first responder, a military hero, and they're just not able to make that first step and call and say, hey, yeah, help me out with this. I'd love to get into the program. Like for you, you know exactly what that's like.
Yes.
How do they get past that first step and get engaged? Mm-hmm.
So we've helped over 20 heroes just in the last 2 years, and 0 of those have come to us saying like, hey, can I get into your program? We've made a huge impact through referrals. It's someone coming to me and saying, hey, I work with this guy, or I served in the past with this guy. Or we're building our social media presence. We've got a website, and so other people will find our resources and then hit us up and say, hey, there's a guy out here in Washington, and he could benefit from your program.
My name is Mark Manley. I'm an ambassador for ENDEX Archery. As an ambassador, I'm pretty much just getting the word out there.
So what are the best ways they can reach out and get in touch with you?
Yeah, through email. Our phone number is listed on our website, and like I said, we're very active on Instagram and Facebook, so a direct message to us gets that conversation started.
Cool. So explain your guys' logo and even the name. Most of our military, well, all of our military, and most of our first responders are going to know what's behind the name. But, a spouse out there, a best friend, they might not understand the name. So kind of walk us through your name choice and the logo.
In the military, the phrase ENDEX means end of exercise. So that's what I set out to do with the name, is end the exercise and futility and, take action. I think it's very fascinating that out in the Western Plains, if animals on the plains creatures, sense a storm coming, most of them will run away from the storm. And so what inevitably happens is the storm catches up, and now they're running with the storm and spending more time in misery. But a buffalo will sense a storm coming and turn and run directly at it. And that's fascinating because somehow the buffalo know that, as they're going through the storm, they're going to get through it quicker. And it takes a lot of courage to take that storm head on. What I see people doing whenever they decide to become a part of ENDEX and get into archery, and that's the reason that the buffalo in all of our logos is facing to the left, because if you look at it at a timeline, that buffalo is facing into the past, and he's ready to conquer that trauma, and acknowledge that trauma and get through it.
That's really cool. So you guys even thought about which direction the buffalo's going to be facing.
Yeah.
That's ownership. That is extreme ownership right there. So I guarantee there's someone listening to this that's thinking, I want to support ENDEX. I want to be on that mission with them. How can they best support your organization, your nonprofit?
So there's a couple different ways to donate. If you go to our website, we have a link to a PayPal there, and you can donate directly through PayPal. I also have an active fundraiser on Instagram that is directly for this Green Beret, and you can donate directly to that. But one of the other ways that has been really special to me is people have been donating their time and their skills to ENDEX to help us grow and to improve what we're doing here. So just in the last couple of weeks, I had a guy who designs these wraps that you can kind of customize your bow with. You can put them on your scopes, your releases, all over the bow. And he decided to donate not only one to me to test out, but he donated one to a bow that we're going to be giving away very soon. So, he's taking money out of his own pocket to make our products and the bows that we give away just a little bit more unique and kind of brand it the ENDEX way, which is super special. I had a graphic designer, a guy named Mason here in Virginia, just reach out. He saw me on Instagram and wanted to know if there was any design work that he could do for us. And it just turned out we were in the process of changing our motto and needed a new logo, and so he did that for me free of charge. And then right now we're getting ready to launch a giveaway for a custom forged knife made by a veteran up in Michigan. And again, he just reached out and said, "Hey, I make knives. I'd love to donate one to ENDEX to help you guys grow or to raise money or however you want to do it." So it's just really special to me that people are seeing value in what we're doing, and maybe they don't have all the money in the world to be able to donate to us. That's fine, but they're sharing our message, helping us spread, and some people are donating time, to help us out, and that's just awesome.
So it sounds like no matter what their business, no matter what their organization, no matter what their skill is, if they have that drive that they want to be on the ENDEX mission, you're creative and you have the ownership enough to say, "Hey, I will find a place for you to help us out. I will get you part of the team."
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, just, when it comes to social media, just a share can help a lot, because you never know what people are going through. And, I guarantee anyone who sees this has some veteran or first responder or somebody in their life, in their social media friend group, who's experienced trauma. And those people may not know that archery is an option. So just getting the word out to those people, and it's more people that we can help and grow this mission would mean a lot.
My name's John Swales. I was a light infantryman in the Army. I did 2 tours to Iraq and Baghdad, 2007 to 2008, and then 2009 to 2010. So my first tour was 15 months, and it was a real difficult tour. We lost a lot of guys, and there were situations that I was involved in that I hope that other people, and a lot of people, never have to see or have to go through. It was very difficult to go through. Then came back home for a few months, saw my family, and then turned around and got deployed right away again. Same deal, but it was even more difficult for me to process because we live in a bubble here, and when you're in the military, you see the worst of the worst overseas, and things that you see you can't unsee ever, no matter how bad you want to. And that was the hardest thing for me, was that I couldn't unsee the things that I had seen. I couldn't unfeel, unsmell, anything. You taste it, and you just you can't let that go. And through jiu-jitsu, I met a guy named Mike Troxel, who's also an ambassador. He introduced me to Jay, and Jay and I kind of hit it off right away. And he talked to me about archery, and I've never shot anything other than a gun. Never shot a bow in my life, really didn't know anything about it. So he talked to me about it, came over to his house, had a bow, had me shoot it a few times, and taught me all the basics. And just right away, I realized this was something different, that this was more beneficial than anything that I'd ever done before. And so he got me a bow, cut my arrows, everything. Got me a bag, gave me lessons. There just wasn't anything that Jay didn't do and ENDEX Archery didn't do to get me set up so that way I could go home fully prepared and shoot on my own. And the thing about shooting a bow is you don't just put in an arrow and shoot. You stand and you have to think about your stance. And you got to clear your mind. Then you got your bow. You got to make sure your bow's in your hand properly. You got the hand position. You knock your arrow, and then you prepare. And then you got to take a deep breath. And everything is about form. You get your form. You pull that arrow back. You're looking at your sights, making sure you're level, and then you release and you just watch it. And during that entire process, you're not thinking about anything else. There is nothing else in your mind that is coming across outside of shooting that arrow, and you want to do it the best that you can. And so I did that, and then I kept doing it, and I realized when I'm doing this, I don't feel this other stuff. You know, all this depression and anxiety that I feel through the day, or that I was feeling every time I went somewhere. I didn't want to be around people. I didn't really want to socialize with people. All that changed when I got introduced to Jason and ENDEX Archery. I would not be where I am today mentally without ENDEX, because it gives me the opportunity now when I'm at home and I'm by myself and I start feeling depressed. And the thing about depression is you don't just feel bad. You start feeling bad and then you go down a rabbit hole and you go deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's harder and harder to crawl yourself out of that. And then your family comes home and you can't be the person that you want to be for your family when you're so down on your depression. And I found myself not wanting to be with my wife, not wanting to be around my kids, because I didn't want them to see me like that, because I felt weak. And I didn't want my kids to see their father being a weak person. And so now, when I even get the itch of anxiety or depression, first thing I do is I grab my bow, I've got my arrows, everything's set up, I got my bag, I go outside, sit at 20 yards, and just focus. And shooting 20 arrows just completely changes my day. I go from having a rough time to all of a sudden the focus, the mentality, everything changes, and my day's different. And I'm able to accomplish things that, had I not had a bow to shoot, I would have just stayed at home and it wouldn't have gotten done. And the interesting thing is after shooting, I was able to talk to my wife about a little bit of stuff. And then the more that I got into shooting, the more I was able to open up to her about things that had happened to me, about the way that I was feeling about things. And from that, she actually got a bow and she started shooting. And so now, not only do I shoot by myself during the day when I'm feeling down or I got something's bothering me, or I just want to get better because I'm a competitive person. I don't know any light infantryman that's not competitive. It's in our nature to be competitive. But now it's something that my wife and I can do together as a fun activity, and it's something like a date night for us where we go out, we get together, we shoot, we have fun, we're laughing, we're joking, and it was never like that before. It just wasn't. And so that's how much ENDEX Archery has changed my life. That's how much archery has changed my life. And I never, ever would have thought that until I met Jason. And I met Jason through one of the ambassadors. And now I'm talking about going to 3D tournaments where there's going to be a ton of people that I don't know all standing around, but the commonality is the bow. That's the commonality. And that is something that I missed when I left the Army. That brotherhood. It's changed me so much that there's just no way that I could thank ENDEX. I just can't. So what I do is I tell my friends about it. I tell my family members about it. I personally, whenever I can, I'll donate money towards the mission because I believe in it that much. Because I know that there are guys struggling. I know they're out there, and I know they're probably thinking archery, whatever. That's not me. And I'm just telling you, give it a shot. Just try it, because your mind is so important that when you get out there and you're focused and you're breathing, and archery is not easy. It is not an easy sport to master. And so you focus and you just want to get better and better and better. And ENDEX Archery provided everything for me to do that. I never could have afforded the bows, the arrows, the bags, the lessons, the free lessons from Jason. I couldn't have afforded all of that. just wouldn't have been possible, but it was possible because of ENDEX Archery. And it was possible because of people that donated bows or that donate money to our mission. It doesn't get any better than that.
I want to pick up on one more thing before we close up. Twice now you've mentioned the family dynamics. So share about what that's like. It sounds like you're not just focused on the veteran, the first responder, the hero, but you're focusing on the entire family and that joint sacrifice that they've made for our country.
Yeah, I mean, I had a tough job in the military at times. My wife had it way tougher. Not only was she putting herself through school to get, she's got a master's degree now, and but we also have 3 small children. They're not small anymore; they're teenagers now. But at the time that I was in and out of the door constantly, she was at home with a puppy, with 3 kids, all in diapers, getting a degree, taking care of the home, and I got to go off alone and go to Afghanistan or some other really incredible places. So I always say her job was harder than mine, and that's only one aspect of it, though. I think through archery and through this experience with ENDEX, I've also become a lot more open about my own trauma, and it allowed me to share things with my wife that a lot of people, especially in our profession, you don't want to talk about it,
Right.
And you might feel like you're burdening your significant other, your spouse, your kids with that information. Hey, my troubles can be my own. But what you realize, is when I start to share with my wife, she's actually very supportive, and she wants to help. So I just think it's another thing, another component that, most people wouldn't associate, hey, building a stronger marriage, stronger relationship, finding a new support network with shooting a bow. But who knows what a bow can do for you.
That's powerful. So if there's anything else that you want to tell the viewers, like what was that one more thing that you'd like to tell them?
I think my biggest thing is if you're watching this, recognize that there's people that go out there every day, put their life on the line, whether it's overseas or here in our American streets, and those people have to see the worst that humanity is capable of, and they carry that with them. So if you're truly passionate about supporting our veterans, supporting law enforcement, supporting first responders, maybe there's something more. Maybe there's some action that you can take. And, it really does boil down to deeds, not words.